one and all present here. Myself, Alisha Zaidi, and I am pursuing PGDM in Finance from the prestigious institute, Fortune Institute of International Business, Delhi. I will be taking you through one of the existing economical and political event that is approaching and that keeps everyone hooked to the televisions and newspapers. Yes, I am talking about the budget 2023 for the fiscal year 2023-2024. So today we all have gathered here to discuss the expectations that are emerging from different sectors that contributes towards the Indian economy from the budget, which will be presented by our Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st of Feb 2023. So in this session, we'll be discussing basically the expectations that the major sectors hold from the financial budget 2023. The sectors are corporate sector, BFSI, salaried individuals, insurance and financial markets. The discussion is planned in such a way which is comprehensible to students like us who are very curious and reluctant to know about what the budget is bringing this time on the table. And also we all being a finance student, we have this zeal to know the expectations from different sectors of Indian economy. So before starting the discussion, I would like to introduce my colleagues who all are also pursuing PGDM in finance. So we have with us Sajal Agarwal, Asha Sharma, Anshika Saluja, Pulkit Kashyap and Tanya Agarwal. As we all know that amid the COVID-19 pandemic, insurance sector in India has seen a contrarian growth. So we all know that after the pandemic, whatever that happened, people are now focused on more this health insurance and life insurance. So I would really like to know that what the insurance sector this time is expecting from the budget 2023. So Sajal, please give us some insight about the expectations, what the budget is expecting from insurance sector.
Thank you, Alisha, for giving this wonderful opportunity. As we know that in the world, the insurance penetration is around 6.3%, whereas in Indian GDP is around 3.7%. So we look on for the more guidelines and the policies of government so that more population of India can be covered under various forms of insurances. For example, after the COVID pandemic, as you stated, health insurance, which generally has a capping of 18% over the GST. Before GST, it used to have a capping of 15%. Now it's increased to 18%. Now all the members, the insurance companies and even the population of India is expecting a capping of around under the GST slab of 5%. So that the premiums can go low and more middle class people can afford it, and lower middle class and lower segment people can also pursue to buy health insurances to reduce their chances. And in the case of life insurance, as we all know that under ATC 1,50,000 is the deductions, standard deductions. So if the government can bring, because life insurance is a longer term of insurance that has to be paid for every year. So if they can bring another slab or they can introduce the deductions into another one, so people will be motivated to purchase these insurances, like life insurances. And currently one more thing, stamp duty is being levied on the term insurance. So this is also a point that more than premiums of term insurance go high, and there is very low penetration of term insurance in India. That is why if you know that if somebody dies at an early age or while working, their families don't have sufficient money so that they can equip their children or everything. So the government should promote term insurances and all that. And apart from that, the people also are looking forward, insurance companies, to give a roadmap for the investments into the insurance sector.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Sajal. After the COVID pandemic, people are focused on their health. So the taxes on premium should be reduced.
So Sajal, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
What's your call on double taxation policies?
See, the double taxation in GST, what we have seen that on a reinsurance premiums, like we as a customer are paying taxation GST on the reinsurance premium, and the broker has also pay on the reinsurance brokerage that he is getting. So I think government should work on that, and this should be eliminated, because twice taxes be paid on the same, one by the customer, second by the broker.
Okay.
Next panelist, Tanya. Tanya will be speaking about the expectations that the banking sector is holding from this time to budget. So Tanya, I would like to tell you that we all know that our country is facing current account deficit this time from the past year 2022-2023. So it is likely that this time also it is predicted that this time our country might face the capital account deficit as well. So it will affect banking sector. So what is your what do you think the banking sector, BFI sector expect from this budget 2023?
Thank you for the question, Alisa. Every January begins with some new aspirations and expectations as well. So majorly people are waiting for this like salaried individual, financial specialists alike. Moreover, they are majorly focusing on tax savings and custom compliance ease, etc. I'll be talking about BFSI, which is banking, financial service and insurance. It is a umbrella term which consists of many financial products and services. Majorly over 400 companies are BSc listed in BFSI. Example, Aditya Birla Capital Limited, Axis Bank, etc. So I'll be talking about some expectations from Union Budget from 2023. So first one is people are expecting FIIB and NABARD to be an agency for providing liquidity support for the NBFCs. Accordingly, there should be a proper budgetary allocation so that NBFCs can provide funds to the MSMEs or beneficiaries. So second one is there should be a reintroduction of partial credit guarantee scheme. This will help NBFCs to provide funds to the MSMEs. As we all know, NBFCs never takes funds from the financial institutions, general public or from banks. So if banks can help NBFCs to provide funds to the MSMEs, this will help MSMEs as well as NBFCs and overall growth of the country.
Sharing your views and thoughts on the BFSI. So I would like to know what are your opinions on the bad and doubtful debts for NBFCs?
Thank you for the question, Pulkit. As per Section 36 of Section 1, Clause 7 and Subclause A of the Income Tax Act, it states that the banks shall be allowed a deduction of approx 8.5% for the provision for bad and doubtful debts of their total income. But for NBFC it is only 5%. So there is a minimum limit from banking sector. Majorly, we can say that many of the policies or regulations are aligned with banking sector and for NBFCs. But this particular scheme is not aligned. So I think this should also be aligned so that NBFCs can save extra 3.5% of provision for doubtful debts tax on their gross total income. If this happens, this will be helpful for NBFCs.
Sector, the corporate sector. So Pulkit, I would really like to know about the insights, like the expectation for this time the corporate sector is having from the government budget.
Thank you for the question, Alicia. See, the first thing we should notice that this year we have a 7% real GDP growth over the provisional estimate of fiscal year 2022. So I believe this gives a cushion to our finance minister to expand more aggressively. Now the first sector which I would be closely monitoring during this budget would be the railways. And I expect that in line with the previous year budget, they would be allocating 400 more new Vande Bharat trains. And I believe there are two reasons for this. The first would be that we would be supplying them, exporting them in the near future, and also we would be replacing our current Shatabdi and Rajdhani Express trains. Also, in the coming 25 years, government is planning to lay 1 lakh kilometers of railway network. So this budget would be the first step towards that milestone. And I believe that the budget outlay would increase from 1.4 lakh crore, which was in the previous budget, to 1.9 lakh crore this time.
Thank you, Pulkit, and I agree that government will be launching this 400 trains under this scheme of Gati Shakti. So there is one question which came across my mind, that people are saying that we should invest in, the government should invest in the startups and everything. So despite knowing the inflation rates, it is so high in our country, the government is taking all steps to minimize its effect as much as possible. So what is your say? Like, how will it affect the budget if people are trying, if the government is investing in startup, or should the government invest in startups at this in this budget or not?
Okay, so I would like to explain this concept using an example from the technology-based industry, which is the semiconductor industry. So the semiconductor industry has seen a growth of 19%, and we are expecting it to reach a value of $300 billion. Now that's a big amount.
Yes.
So all the startups which are aligning themselves with the technology base, for example, the digital infrastructure or these computers, laptops, tablets, or any other thing which is related to digital economy. So all those startups would be benefited with this budget. Also, the Ministry of Electronics and IT has budgeted that they would be allocating 10,000 to 20,000 crores of rupees in the semiconductor market as an infusion, apart from the PLI, the production linked incentive. So I believe that for startups in India, this is a boom phase, and anyone who has some potential in their idea, who has some product which they can use to solve the problems of the general public, can benefit from this budget.
Thank you so much, Pulkit.
Ask Pulkit, can you explain what are the sectors in manufacturing that affect on a financial market?
Thank you for your question, Alisha. So, apart from the railways and the semiconductor industry, which I just discussed, I believe that all those firms and industries which are working in the urban and rural development, defense and agriculture can see a boom in this budget. We have came a long way regarding our Swachh Bharat Mission, PM Awas Yojana and other similar schemes. So, all these firms, given that we are looking towards a more urbanized India, and we are looking that every individual should have a home for themselves. So all those firms and industries which are working in these sectors, which are equipped, for example, real estate, all those can see a boom. Defense has always been a priority for the Indian government. We are having border situations with our neighboring countries. So companies which are working towards defense and its allied industries can see a boom. Apart from it, since we are an agriculture-based economy, so I believe agriculture-led industries and businesses could also see the boom in this budget.
Okay, thank you, Pulkit.
Thank you, Pulkit. Thank you for enlightening. I would like Anshika to just tell me about what a salaried individual or the senior citizens of our country are expecting from this budget 2023 this time.
Oh, thank you for the question, Alisha. You know, in the year FY 2022, 50% of the ITRs were filled by salaried individuals. Those were ITR 1, which are primarily filled by them only. So they form a major part of the economy and they help the economy to boost as well. So I would like to begin by saying that one of the major amendment that has to be done is to be in the slab only. The slab rate, which is having the basic limit of 2.5 lakh now, has to be increased to 5 lakh at least, so as to cater to the inflation which has been increasing day by day. After talking about the slab rates, I would say the section 80C, which is a crowd of various investments, EPF, PPF, NPS, life insurance, housing, all of these investments have to be capped in the limit of 1.5 lakh, which is quite low. This should be increased to at least 2.5 lakh. And then the allowances that are offered to the salaried individual of the children education allowance, let's take this example. In this allowance, only 100 rupees per month is given as an exemption. And we all know that the education is way expensive than this 100 rupees or 1200 rupees per annum. And then let's talk about the hostel allowance as well. It is allowed till an extent of 300 rupees per month, which comes to 3600 for an annum, which is again very less. Similarly, the entertainment allowance that is offered to the government employees only, why isn't it offered to the private employees as well? This should be taken into consideration. And the other things like the 87A rebate, if the slab rates are not being amended, the rebate could be amended so as to increase from the limit of 12,500 to at least a limit of 15,000, I believe. And then the housing loan interest that are offered, the deduction is offered to an extent of 2 lakh under section 24B, but that could be increased so that more and more customers who are willing to buy houses under even the Prime Minister's scheme, they could avail the benefit from the taxation point as well. Now coming over to, you asked about the senior citizens. There is a section named as 80TTB which offers 50,000 rupees incentive for the people who are old age and are investing in interest giving schemes. So, the major portion of the income of the senior citizens are from the interest income only. And this 50,000 limit, it is a big cap on the limitations that that the income tax basically has. So I believe this should be amended. And talking about the other terms than the basic salary components, I would say that the 80EEV, which is for the electronic vehicles, the EVs that are very trending in the market these days, the limit has been designed till the 31st of March 2023 only. I believe, and the experts as well have taken this into consideration, that this should be at least increased to an extent of 2 more years, that is till the 31st of March 2025.
Even I agree with this thing, that slab should be increased, and also the student allowance should also increase to 300 rupees from 100 rupees. Now,
Anshika, now I have a question. You said that 50% the income tax has been filed from the salaried individuals. I think corporate tax also plays a very important role while accounting for the annual tax that the government receives for the financial year.
Right.
So what do you have the views on the corporate tax regime?
In India, specifically, there is a 30% corporate tax rate.
Yeah.
While if we compare with other countries like Dubai, from 1st of June 2023, the tax will be levied in Dubai at the rate of 9%, while in Singapore it's 17%. This is an attraction point to the Indian companies so as to shift to international. And this is definitely not going to help the Indian government to boost the Make in India or Stay in India campaign. I believe this is a very big hindrance.
Yeah, this should be lowered down. I do agree.
Yes.
now moving on to the last sector, which is the financial markets. So I would like to know from Asha, could you give us some insights about what expectations does this sector hold from the budget 2023?
Okay, thanks Alicia for asking. So I would like to enlighten some points that the experts are expecting from the markets, like the equity shares period. Like previously we say that the equities is approx 12 months, but they expected to in the 24th financial year budget will be exceed to 36 months up to, and also they are expected in the tax that if we see the ratio of international or Indian market, the Indian will be less invested as compared to international, but the government takes some incentives like we say that under section 80C the interest, the 1.5 lakh will be exceeded to 2.5. So the people who pay tax are more interested that if we invested in a 2.5, then we can get a tax deduction up to 2.5. So it will be a little push to the financial market. And another things that we can say the expectors are expecting the magical things like government will be thinking about the financial deficits. Like if we see the previous year it will be 6.8, but right now the budget will be expected to reduce in a 5.8, and also some changes in tax, and also they are more thinking about the capital expenditures, because if we invest in a capital expenditure, the more investment, more startups come, and the more startups come, then it will be little things will upfront for the financial market. Like government will be thinking to borrow from the market is 16 trillion. First half for the central is like 11.5%, and the state will be 5.6% will be taking from the government as a borrowing. So overall, they are take a many incentives for our financial market.
There is one question, Asha, that since global recession is around the corner and it has affected this market, our stock market, our financial market as well. So what is your say that will this affect our budget as well? For like government will make some provisions despite knowing the recession is around the corner.
Of course, government will take some steps for this recession, and it will be affected, not more than, but it will affect it, because a lot of things depend on our things on different countries, that the recessions will going on, so it will be affected. Not too much, but it will.
Asha, I too had a question for you.
Okay.
As we know that there was a provision a few years back by the government stating that the LTCG or the long-term capital gain beyond the limit of 1 lakh will be taxable. Only the excess will be taxable. What's your say on it, if the limit should be reduced or increased, or it should be remain stable?
Okay, let me take an example. If your income is more than 1 lakh, like you income 1,20,000, then you will pay up to 20,000. But 20,000 for tax is not the right thing. No, it's not a go way. So according to the expectation, it will be increased up to 1.5 or 1.25. So it will be in a good way.
Well said.
Thank you all of you. So now we have come to the end of our discussion. Thank you all my panelists for being such a support. Thank you.